So emotions, like I said, is just energy emotional. They're neither good nor bad. It's how we express them or how we deal with them that can make them seem bad because it's like your behavior you might deem as bad. Um, we often hear things like you're too emotional or calm down. Emotions are painted negatively, but they're natural and necessary for processing internal and external stimuli or like our environment. We tend to think of negative emotions as sadness, anger, rage, grief, shame. But emotions, like I said, are just neutral. They're just energy and they're just messages from your body. And the you have you get emotions in response to something that happens inside or outside your body. So if you have to give a speech, public speaking, for one person who was brought up and um, got laughed at in class or something like that for saying the wrong thing, and now they have like this conditioning, belief, trauma around speaking up, whereas somebody who is actively encouraged, like I'm actually thinking now, there's Jeff's niece, and it just like is in it literally would have terrified me as a child. But she like gets up on stage all the time and like does these like funny things, and I would have had such a fear of like, and I still feel it in my body, like when they talk about her going up there to talk, like that creates a feeling in my body. But obviously, um, Jeff's family were way more confident and like expressive and stuff, and they view that as a good thing, going up there and like expressing yourself and doing something funny in front of people. Whereas I would have thought like, oh my god, like I wouldn't want to be put up there, um, and that brings up a different feeling in my body. So, like I said, everyone interprets things differently, and if your landscape from your childhood or your past experiences is different, you will have different feelings and emotions in your body. And the emotions are the same, but we will experience it in a different way. And if we can't process it and we stop it down, like I said, that's where dysregulation happens. And usually we will do that if we see them as good or bad. You know, some people might have been shamed for like crying as a child, and they think it's like bad to cry now. And again, that's stuffing that down. Or the same with anger. When you think of emotions as just energy, you can kind of detach a bit more, and then you can be like a neutral observer when they come up. This takes practice, obviously, if you've been really emotionally charged or like repressing them or seeing them as bad for a long time. Um, Most commonly when you start doing this, you will still do the reactive behavior or have the emotions, but it's probably afterwards that you can now start to like look into it and how it makes you feel in your body. And emotions are kind of like, for me, because I think everyone experiences them a bit different, but it's like just a wave and it should just last 90 seconds. But like I said, our bodies, our past experiences, our minds tend to loop them. We get stuck in an emotion, instead of properly just letting it, when you're neutral and it can just pass, it passes out, and then you can think clearer about a situation. Um, so, just for example, anxiety and depression are emotions or energy that aren't processed properly. So, anxiety, you can feel it in your body. So, anxiety releases cortisol, which releases energy. And this energy is kind of like chaotic because anxiety is the need to feel that something needs to be done, but there's nothing to be done because you're worrying about um, the future or past. Like you're worrying about things that you can't do anything about right now, or you can have anxiety about doing things that you should be doing right now. But if your nervous system is stuck, um, you're not really using that energy efficient properly. If you're stuck in something like freeze. And depression is stuck or suppressed energy. There's still loads of energy there, but your body just pushes it down for too long because it feels, like I said, that's like where the tiger is right here as opposed to across the field. And you feel like there's nothing to be done. It's hopeless. There's nothing I can do about this situation. This is where your life, your health, everything gets too overwhelming. So your body is just like, okay, don't worry, I'll protect you. I'll shut everything down. We'll conserve all our energy, and I'll also like take you out of your body. Like I will dissociate or numb out so that you don't have to feel the pain of what is inevitably coming because there's a threat right there. This is protection. It's always protection. We talked about that yesterday. Keep saying yesterday, day two. So again, to heal, you have to look at all these four pillars as we talked about. Um, Again, anger and rage aren't bad. It's just energy. But when we stuff it down and we stuff it down, it comes up at times where, yeah, you don't want it to. Because when you stuff it down, it causes your nervous system to get stuck, and then you're in that fight or flight or survival mode. And then somebody says something that, and out of proportion to the situation, you react, you shout, or you get defensive, or you just feel like you need to like get away. Um, and that's because you're not coming to the situation from a neutral standpoint. You're already activated, your nervous system is already switched on and stuck in that survival mode. So anger and rage, just like to let you know some of the messages that could be coming up, it lets us and others know where our boundaries stand and when they have been crossed. Um, so, for example, times where anger is probably like a good thing is, say you're in a bar and somebody like touches you inappropriately, and you like smack their hand away and like shout, be like, get away from me. That's probably appropriate. That's like appropriate for the situation. Whereas, like I said, the kids are just making like a racket in the house. And you can feel like that anger come up and up and up, and you like shout at them for like no reason, like they weren't really doing anything, it wasn't called for, and then you feel guilty afterwards, and then that guilt and the shame afterwards actually perpetuates like that cycle, because it's like, oh, anger is wrong, push it down. Whereas if you weren't already activated, if you weren't in survival mode, you would have been able to see the situation for what it was and be like to the kids, hey, can you go to your room if you're going to be making loads of noise because it's too loud in here, like, um, or whatever it is, that could have been handled better. Wayne Dyer says, when you squeeze an orange, um, what comes out, and it's what was already inside it. So all those emotions that you push down in childhood, push down throughout your whole life or whatever, when you let that rage out, when you let it out, it's already inside you. So whereas when you let them flow, you let them out and release those blocks and energy that's pent up inside. So when you squeeze a person or put them under pressure or stress or trigger them, what comes out is already inside. So this is a good reframe as well for if people trigger you, if like certain people trigger you, or they're not exactly the problem, they're maybe they're like the spark that ignites the gunpowder, but the gunpowder was already in you ready to explode. Um so that's why people will have different reactions to things or be able to see them a different way. And then, like I said, emotions are messages. If you're angry, um, it's maybe something's unfair, or somebody crossed a boundary, and it may also be you. This is one. You may be angry at yourself for not setting boundaries, for not being more disciplined with yourself, or like not doing the thing that you know you should do. So you may even be angry at yourself. Fear is, that you're facing a threat, that your safety is in question. Disgust is like taking in or being too close to an indigestible uh, object or idea, um, something that may damage one's health or well-being. And again, this is like a safety thing. Sadness is having like like experiencing a loss. Something's missing, something's being grieved. Surprise is something is unexpected or astonishing. If it wasn't in you, it wouldn't come out. This is less emotions and just more like a mindset shift. If you feel judged, it's like, where are you judging yourself? Or if somebody makes you angry, what's causing the anger in you? What lesson is there to be had if somebody makes you angry? It's usually less about the situation right in front of you, and it's because it reminds you of something else. Asking yourself in those situations, or probably afterwards, is what am I making this mean, or what lesson is here for me? Well, if somebody called you lazy, but you don't think you're a lazy person, it wouldn't affect you. if they said you're the worst piano player in the world, but you have no urge or desire to be a piano player, like it's kind of like laughable. You're like, okay. Whereas if somebody called you selfish and there's a part of you that thinks you are selfish, that's where you react. This is where you're triggered. Going back, this is like uh, tied in with the cortisol one, but the stress cycle is you experience a stressor of some sort, and then your nervous system, like you get your nervous system takes it in and it gets activated, and then the brain tells your adrenals to release cortisol, and all those sensations happen in your body, like your heart starts going quicker. um all the energy is like freed up and goes to your extremities or your limbs to get ready to run or fight back from the danger. And sometimes like this can be anxiety, like nervousness. It can also be like excitement, depending again on how you frame a situation. Thing is with this, we need to do something with that energy, to close the stress cycle and come back into a state of rest and digest. So a lot of people, like I said, will like experience a stressor or a trigger or something, and then when they go numb out, you might do the wrong, like you might just start scrolling your phone, and again, you're not doing the appropriate thing with that energy, and you're not dealing with the reason that this stressor came up. So again, this is just you like stuffing down that energy, and not dealing with it. Um, and then overthinking tends to like keep this cycle going. So instead of, sorry, yeah, so instead of like you deal with the stressor, get rid of the energy because you do something about the stressor, then you can come back into a state of calm. Um, but if you don't deal with that, you've got long term consequences like your health issues and a stuck nervous system and everything we talked about the last couple of days. Knowing what to do in this like fight or flight mode, knowing what to do here that will actually properly process that. And sometimes it's looking at your husband makes a comment that triggers like a stress response. You get like angry, triggers stress, your cortisol's released, you're like rah, ragey, and you got that like anxiety, you can feel the energy release in your body, that cortisol is like pumping around and you're ready to like fight or flight. Can respond to it, you might be like, I need to take a time out now. I need to go and like sometimes getting rid of the anger or that like energy might be you like going punching a pillow, or maybe you go do a workout or have a walk or something. Like you get that energy out. And like I said from the first day, is like you don't want to produce more cortisol. You want to just get out the cortisol that's been released. And then you can come back to the situation and respond and say, I feel this is how that made me feel, and talk it out in a more calm state. And also by talking about how it made you feel and the boundary that was crossed by the comment he made or something like that, that is dealing with it effectively, and you can kind of most of the time put that to kind of bed. Whereas when you lash out and you get angry and you use the energy like that way by fighting back and having a big argument about it, and then you run away and you like don't resolve it, that the cycle kind of like keeps going as well. Or if you go and you emotionally eat or you scroll your phone or you just do things to like numb out, you're keeping the energy suppressed. And over time, like I said, that causes dysregulation in your body because that builds up in your body because you haven't got rid of that energy or dealt with the situation properly. It's still all alive in your body.